Welcome to this week's edition of Coach Prep. Coach Don and I are here in the Cherokee Batting Range podcast studio getting ready to record episode number 175. Topic is, how do I coach a good player who maybe doesn't have college softball in her future? Kind of ties in with some other things we've talked about recently. Before we get into that, let's talk about our sponsors. First, the Anderson Bat Company. Everything Fast Pitch is very proud to have Anderson Bat Company as our presenting sponsor. Anderson Bat Company is using the latest and greatest bat technology to corner the market in the fast pitch world. They have the -9 Rocket Tech, the -10 Carbon, and the -11 Carbon Light. Anderson Bat Company is using this technology to put a high-performing bat in the hands of hitters that really know the difference between a good bat and a great bat. We're also working with Anderson to provide a discount for all of our listeners. Go to the Anderson Bat Company website and order your bats. Use the EFP20 discount, which is for everything fast pitch, and you'll get a 20% discount. Make sure you take advantage of that EFP20 discount. Save 20% on your bats, gloves, and everything else you buy from Anderson, and you help support everything fast pitch at the same time. Also, if you want to support everything fast pitch, become a patron. Go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. I know you've all heard me say it 100 times. We need more help.
Yep.
The good news is we're close to breaking even. The bad news is we're still losing money every month. So if you're in a position where you can help us, $5 makes a big difference for us. I know it seems, it's easy to sit there and say, well, it's only $5. Well, if 10 of you all do it, if you saw a $50 bill on the sidewalk, you would stop and pick it up.
Helps for all the gas and time, Tori's.
You also would stop and pick up a $5. Don't think about it's not much. It's a lot to us. And so we really need the help. Go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. So Don, one of the things that's happened in our game is the idea of playing fast pitch softball has somehow become equated to playing college softball. I wouldn't play travel ball. I wouldn't take lessons. I wouldn't work with an instructor. I wouldn't be playing school ball. I wouldn't be doing any of that stuff without the idea of the long-term goal of wanting to be a college player. And the reality of it is, for a lot of reasons, I think there's an awful lot of players playing this game that college either isn't or might not, maybe shouldn't be in their long-range future.
Right.
That there's nothing wrong with, and we need to start to be a little bit more supportive of and aware of, that there's an awful lot of kids that should just play this game because it's fun, because they get a lot out of it, they enjoy it, and they don't have to have college aspirations. Now, there's lots of different reasons why kids could fall into that category. But whatever the reason is that college softball might not be in their future, I think we need to make sure that from a coaching perspective, we're treating them with the respect that they deserve and that we're working as hard as we can to help them become the best version of themselves, even though it might not lead to them being a college player.
Tori, I think that what you're saying is exactly right, because, softball is just kind of one of those avenues or ways that we create a good environment for us after softball.
Right.
And learning how to be dedicated, learning how to work with a group, learning how to do all those things that, that we're going to have to do after our softball venture is super important. And even though we know that a particular player might not have aspirations or might not be capable of playing in college, we still need to give them the same attention and the same structure and the same thoughtfulness as a coach that we can, just so that they might be able to do something amazing even after softball.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of things, as you've said, that by us helping them become the best version of themselves that they possibly can as a softball player can lead to them having happiness and success in a lot of other avenues. Now, even from just the softball perspective, it's really exciting and encouraging and makes me happy to think about kids that I work with just loving the game, just playing because it's fun, just playing because they get something, that part out of it.
Having fun doing well.
Right. Yeah. Let alone the work ethic and the commitment and the handling frustration and the overcoming obstacles and all that stuff that could have real life long-term impact.
Yeah.
So the reason I wanted us to talk about this, because there's so much of this connection between, we have a travel ball team to get our kids recruited. We are investing this time and effort in playing in these events because we want to get our kids in front of college coaches, that somehow that means there's just so much emphasis on that it's almost like the kid who wants to just play because playing is fun and they're good at it.
They kind of get put aside.
Right. Is sort of like an afterthought and one of the things that I think is important, because we know not every kid is going to be recruited. Not every kid's going to end up having a chance to play in college. And now some of them it's their choice. Some of it's that they're just not talented enough. Maybe not going to be able to handle the academic load, whatever it is. And so the reality of it is, from us as coaches, I think what we want to start to do is spend less time worrying about whether she's a prospect, whether she's a recruit, whether school X would be interested in one of the players on our team, and spend more time looking at that player individually and trying to identify her strengths and weaknesses. And for all of our coaches to look at every player on your roster and think about your job really is to take them where they're at and get them as far as they can go.
Be invested in each of them.
And be invested in helping each one of them make that journey.
Yeah.
And if that leads to college, that's great. If it leads to something else, that's great too. Because all the things that you've talked about already, Don, that are important that these kids can learn from you investing in them becoming the very best version of themselves that they can is going to have a long-term, forever impact on their lives. And to me, I think that's one of the things that is worth talking about, because there's so much emphasis on the, how many kids are getting recruited, all that kind of stuff. And when you see the profile sheets, at the ballpark, and as the kids get older and kids start committing to schools, the first thing that everybody does is slap the college logo on the kid's picture, so everybody knows that number 9 is going to Florida, and number 10 is going to Georgia, and number 12 is going to Florida State, and number 13 is going to Oregon or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's always that 1 or 2 kids on there that doesn't have a logo on their name.
And for whatever reason.
It's really nobody's business, whatever the reason is. But there's always this sense of, what's wrong with so-and-so? What's the story with so-and-so? And I think we just allow too much of that to creep into what we're doing. It's great if you have a player that wants to play in college and you can help them get there. But I think it's more important that you help all the players you coach become absolutely the best version of themselves that they can.
Are they getting less extra time in the cage? Are they getting fewer ground balls? Are they getting any of that less attention?
Right.
I think would be tough.
And worth thinking about, right? And making sure that you're examining it. If you're not treating all those players and giving all of those players 100% of your effort, focus, and attention, you're already missing the boat.
Taking the extra time to talk about the philosophy or the behind the scene things.
Right.
Yeah.
And thinking that because they don't have college aspirations, that means that it's okay to spend less time or work less with them.
Skip it.
Just sounds kind of creepy. Kind of like unfortunate.
We got to check ourselves.
Right. So we have to check ourselves, because it's okay for kids to decide to play this game in high school and travel ball and middle school all the way through their formative years, just because they love playing it, just because it's fun, just because they like their teammates, just because they like you as a coach, without you having to have some sort of attachment to it, some sort of judgment of whether or not it was worth your time or worth their time because they chose not to play in college.
And just being part of a team is,
There's so many reasons why this game is great, and getting to play in college is way too important to many of us for where it really should be on the list of reasons why we should be coaching.
I like it.
All right, so Don, that's going to wrap up number 175. As always, please support Anderson Bat Company. Become a patron if you can. Go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. Go to the fastpitchprep.com website. Order your Square Cuts training discs. They're $49.95 a dozen. We'll get them out to you right away. As always, if you have questions, ideas, or suggestions, reach out to us at everythingfastpitch@gmail.com or fastpitchprep@gmail.com. Coach Don and I are always happy to talk about stuff that you're interested in. We want to make sure that we're talking about the right stuff. So for Coach Don McKinley and our producer, Stan Lewis, this is Coach Torrey saying thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next week.